Good morning. Can
Morning.
everybody hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. So I don't know if Frank is on our motto. If he is, I'll ask him just to give us a brief update on
an adventure to uncover the most unusual sites in the United States.
All right, if you can mute yourself if you're not talking, that would save me a moment of doing that. But again, I want to welcome our Arizona team here. I see some friendly faces from our new family. Welcome, welcome. I also think I see, is that Lauren Soper you can wave, who's helping us here with some of our lead conversions, a new addition to our family. Wilson, how you doing? Tyler, everybody there. Today I'm going to talk about the consumer experience, because I think sometimes we're so entrenched in our business that, we lose sight of what really matters. Okay. And I want everybody to take a moment and imagine these two scenarios here. If you have a client who says, hey, I'm tight on money. Can you give me a discount? Can you give me a break? You cut the commission to maybe the detriment of your best judgment. And the experience goes okay, but it's not great. Or there's another experience that occurs, where you hold the line on your value and you charge what you're worth. And at the end of the day, does the consumer remember the fee that they paid or the experience they received? And I just want, if anybody could unmute yourself and then go back on mute after chiming in here, because I think you're probably going to connect with what I'm talking about. A year later, does your client at a cocktail party say, I paid 5 or 6%, or do they say, you would not believe how talented, Mary Jane was at Remax. She was able to overcome every obstacle and had the confidence and poise to give us peace of mind that everything was going to be okay. What do you think? Do you think it's they remember the fee, or they remember the experience?
The experience.
The experience.
I think a week after closing, most people can't say what they paid. They certainly can't say what they paid to the buyer's side and the seller's side. If there was a buyer's and a seller's commission, it doesn't matter. Okay. And I spent a few days out at the Remax Broker Owner Conference, and a few things that I took away from that. I'm going to call it that experience of networking with people. The first thing is that there were some states that had implemented the change much earlier than August 17th. And there were some companies that said, we're going to make this mandatory in our company at Remax, which I thought was pretty bold. And these were sizable companies saying that we're going to do these buyer agency agreements. We're going to be ahead of the curve, even if other companies aren't requiring the buyer's agency agreement. So I tipped my hat to them. And you want to know what they discovered? They discovered that there was less resistance than they anticipated. And another little thing happened. The average buy side commission was increased by 0.27%, a little bit over a quarter point. And everybody in the meeting was like kind of a little bit surprised by that. But the people that had implemented, the 9 brokerages that had implemented it, had said that it's not surprising, because if we give our agents the ability to negotiate their compensation, they'll get paid fairly. If we give our agents the ability to negotiate their compensation, they'll get paid fairly. And that rang a bell for me, because I know at least once a month, maybe 4 or 5 times a month, I hear feedback from a manager or an agent saying that, and if you've had this experience, you can just raise your hand, that they sold the property, they got paid a commission that was advertised, but they come to find out that the listing agent got 50% more, or double what they got paid. Anybody ever had that experience? You know, you got paid 2% and the listing agent got paid 4%?
Yep.
I
How'd
just
that make-
got that. Yes.
Who was that, Lisa?
Yes, I just saw that on the closing disclosure that, yes, they were getting paid more than I, and they didn't even show up to anything.
So let me ask you, does that feel equitable to you, Lisa?
No, it's frustrating.
And um, in that circumstance, somebody that you never met, okay, that you may never ever meet, in this case, you probably never met the listing agent, sounds
I
like,
did
did
not.
you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
They didn't
And
show
you-
up for anything.
And you never met the seller, right?
Oh, I did meet the seller. Yes, I met the seller.
So most cases, you might not even meet the seller. So those two people are determining what you get paid. And you and your client who have that unique relationship, that fiduciary duty, they're hiring you for your superior skill set. You were getting compensated by an agreement that was determined by two people that you never met at the time, and you may never meet ever in your life. Does that sound like a fair arrangement? I don't think so.
No.
So the anticipation that I had was that this might put downward pressure on buyer agent commissions. But what reality is that when we're able to communicate and demonstrate our value, we are actually going to get paid. You know, I think it's 11.5% more in the 9 brokerages that have implemented this in advance. Now, who would like an 11% raise? I would. And the only thing stopping you from getting yourself an 11% raise is 2 things. One of them is our communication skills, and the second is our ability to deliver a superior experience, right? Because we all know that, you know, we know intellectually that the consumer is not going to remember the fee, they will remember the experience. And if you've ever gone to, you know, someplace where you want to have a particular product or service, and then you try to negotiate, they say, I'm sorry, that's our fee, you know, and you still move forward because it's the best product or the best service. That's the mindset that we need to have when we engage with our clients, our future clients. I'm going to share with you a story, and it's not directly related to the buyer agency relationship, but it is directly related to the concept of it's not what you say, it's not what you do, it's how you make them feel. I'm going to repeat that. And I'm going to add one. It's not what you say, it's not what you do, it's not what you charge, it's not what you pay. It's all about how you make the person feel. And there's no right or wrong. Like, you know, I can go and do, you know, 3 great things for our esteemed manager, Wilson, in Tucson. And if that doesn't make him feel like he's appreciated, it doesn't matter, right? All it matters is, you know, not what my actions are, but how the recipient receives those actions. And the example that, you know, our founder, Dave Liniger, mentioned was there was a graduate in working at corporate as like a part-time person. She graduated from college with a teaching degree, and she had a passion for technology. So Dave himself put her into the technology department at Remax, kept giving her promotions and raises, okay? And she retired or left the company as the chief technology officer, the highest position that you can achieve in Remax for her skill set. And when she retired, you know, Dave took her out to dinner and said, hey, you know, what a great career, you know, is there anything I could have done better? And, you know, she said to him, I really appreciate everything that you did, but I really just wish you would have let me know how you felt about what I was doing. And he was blown away and he's like, I'm sorry about that. But in his mind, he said, I gave her every opportunity to grow. I gave her a raise. I gave her an increased title. But because I didn't tell her explicitly that she was doing a great job and that I appreciated what she was doing, that was the comment after 22 years of service, which is pretty ironic, but I think it makes us take a look at maybe some of our relationships. And it also highlights the fact that it's not what we say, it's not what we do, it's not what we charge, it's not what we pay. It's all about how we make the consumer or the colleague feel from what we do, right? Andrew, you could be doing a great job and say, I sold your house for this amount of money. I did it at a discounted fee. But if the customer doesn't feel that, it doesn't really matter, right? And I think fee is not the deciding factor in a positive experience, in my opinion.
I
And
agree with you. I think people need that reassurance and need that positive energy to feel good about what they're doing. And I think most of us forget about that. I mean, even from our children to our clients to our colleagues, we forget to do that. And receiving that, is a good feeling. It's acknowledgement that you're doing a good job.
yeah, and Andrew, for our particular business, do you treat all your clients similarly or the same? You give them the same great level of service?
Oh yeah. I mean, I go into this relationship, and by the time we are halfway through or three quarters, they are like family, and that's how I treat everyone. And people love that. I think they feel the warmth, they feel the trust, they feel the honesty, and the end result is always a good review. So
So if you have a listing, you that's not selling, you communicate with them once a week on a certain day?
I usually do Mondays or Tuesdays. I send out a weekly property marketing activity report. And I try to basically, let them know what's going on. And it becomes easy for me if I need them to readjust their price, because we're having those conversations and we're not and we're constantly communicating.
So, Andrew, what if I said to you that um, maybe you might want to ask customers and your clients how they want to be communicated with, right? And what I mean by that is, I admire a weekly follow-up, but you might have a client that says, Andrew, I'm really busy. This is the third time we've done business together. Can you only reach out to me on Mondays when I need to take action?
Oh yeah, I do it all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the things that I do in the beginning is try to find out what their communication comfort level is. There are those that want a phone call. There are those that want an email. There's those that want text message. There are those that don't want to be notified every time there's a showing on a property. So yeah, you've got to be able to define that, and it's
Right.
different.
Because I think sometimes we just think that we want to give this service package to our client because it's sufficient for most or it's preferable, but some people may not want that, right? And I think learning how to customize that experience is important in our industry.
Oh, I agree.
Um,
I agree. I went to some crisis management training many years ago, and part of that was identifying the four different types of personalities that exist. Those that are analytical people, those that want to know everything that's going on, those that don't want to know that everything's going on, but they want to feel at least they have reach. So you've got to identify what works best for these people, for your clients, and it could be different all the time.
Yep. Well, I mean, it probably will be different every time, and one solution doesn't solve all the issues. Um, But if you think about like that story about the individual that kept getting promoted, didn't even have a degree in technology, wound up being chief technology officer, and at the end of the day, her comment at retirement was, "I wish you would have expressed how you felt about what I was doing." To me, is an eye opener, right? So it's an opportunity for you to not take for granted that people know or assume, how you feel unless you have, that particular conversation. Selling their house in 3 days for, 8% over ask price, you might assume, hey, I did a great job, but maybe maybe you want to thank them for their trust in you and positioning it correctly. Maybe you want to see if there was anything that you could have done differently or better, right? Maybe
Yeah,
they might think,
but I try
maybe,
to, at the end of that cycle is to just say, hey, was there anything that I could have done better? And I think so, and you don't do that for everyone because it depends on what you want to hear. But it is good criticism. And a lot of times if I'm not getting a listing, I will reach out to that person and say, hey, what could I have done better to improve my business if I didn't get something? And I do that a lot.
so I see we only have about like 85 people on, so it's about 15% of our agents. And I want you to leave this meeting, feeling that you've got an 11% pay raise. Okay, and it's not that you're overcharging by that amount, because I think the instances where you get paid 1.5%, 2% by somebody that you never met was inequitable, was not fair. Because if you sold them the neighbor's house, you might have got paid double, right? And our industry, and those of you I'm looking at, by and large, we're not, Rob Durso's not telling me that this house is better for me and my family than that house because it pays a bigger commission. I know that for a fact. But if I pick the wrong house, Rob Durso can get paid half. And this change is leveling that playing field. And I did make a comment that a lot of the broker owners came back to me and said, I really appreciate that. And in this room with probably 90 broker owners with 100 agents or more in Remax, so those were the best of the best, I wanted to stop the negativity for a moment. And I said, look, what if these two things are true? What if we disagree vehemently with the way that this change came about? And what if this change is actually good? Those two things could be true at the same time, right? So this change can be a good thing for the industry, okay? And from a visual standpoint, which a lot of us are visual, this process of selling and buying a house is now controlled by 3 agreements instead of 2, okay? Instead of a listing agent and the seller signing an agreement, and then a buyer and the seller signing a contract. That was the whole process before. Now there's a third contract, which was obviously missing to the visual person, which is the buyer and the buyer's agent or the buyer's rep. Okay, that contract was missing from the equation before. If you never knew how the industry worked, you would say it's ridiculous for somebody I never knew to set my compensation, right? Would you want to have somebody set your compensation that you never met just because if you're playing Monopoly, you roll the dice and you roll a 7 instead of an 8 and you get paid half? That doesn't make any sense. You do the same amount of work. So this is a good thing for our industry. It's a frightening thing for many of us because it's not the way we've done things. But if you have the tone, the confidence, the demeanor, the heart to have these communications with clients, you will attract the people that deserve your services. And the people that don't deserve your services that in the past would have had you drive them around for weeks and then not conduct a transaction with you. How much do you get paid when you show somebody 8 houses and they don't buy anything? Zero. Correct. You're losing money. You're losing time. You get frustrated. It's not good for your psyche in the business. So now we have this opportunity to say, well, I'm gonna take a step back. Did anybody ever have a transaction where, you're $5,000 apart and you don't want to give up your commission and you say, hey, my brokerage won't allow me to do that, or there's an inspection item and there's a $10,000 repair and the other broker says, hey, I'll give half, and you're like, no, my broker won't allow me to do that, even though you can do it. You blame the broker. Anybody ever done that? I know you have, right? So now we can blame the bureaucracy. We can blame the government, saying, hey, you know what? I know that in the past you weren't required to do this, but I would encourage you to interview and identify the person that can best serve you and your family. And then you need to have everything documented in writing. Okay? That's the fairest way to go. It's a very big transaction. You want somebody who is going to be transparent about what they're going to do, and you're going to put it in writing. Me personally, I would put in writing that if you're not satisfied with my services, like many of these buyer agency agreements, hey, you just send me notice, send me an email or a text message as soon as I respond, or I received it. In 3 days, you're out of the agreement. You can go work with anybody else. I don't want to hold you up. I don't want to hold you hostage. It does a couple of things. Number one, it protects you in most cases for the houses that you've shown, because they're not going to try to play games and then wait 3 days and maybe lose that house that they have to have. And number two, it gives you the ability to send them notice saying that if you buy any of these particular properties that I introduced you to or showed you, that I'm entitled to receive that commission. Okay, so you're gonna actually give them something in writing instead of them disappearing and then thinking that there's no consequence. Okay, so all these things are a very good thing for our industry that came about from a bad thing, right? As I say this, I think about more good things that have happened that have come about bad things, right? You have no idea, unless you are a student of history, about how many innovative things have come because of war. One of the worst things that could happen, the microwave, the telephone, the radio, the internet, all these things are results of us trying to get ahead in warfare. And then they become almost necessities in our daily life, right? So if there were no wars, there would be no nuclear energy, because they wouldn't have figured that all out, right? So one of our energy sources would be gone. There's just so many things. Like, we probably wouldn't be flying from, north to Phoenix if it wasn't for airplanes that were advanced due to war, right? I mean, the earliest airplanes were not for leisure and travel; they were for independence and protecting our country and our freedom. Think about it. Dave also said a second thing, a man of much wisdom. He said, when we get to the other side of this, we'll be stronger. He said every single time there's a challenge, when we survive it, we come out the other end much, much stronger. We come out the other side leaner. We come out the other side wiser. Think about that.
Rob, I believe that. I think the brand will enforce our professionalism and make us stronger. I mean, just in the last couple of days, the communication I get from these other realtors from other places, it's just terrible.
Yes. So, nobody knows exactly where everything lands in the future. But in my opinion, this whole thing about, how much is the seller offering, what's the concession? Are they giving a commission? They're not getting back to me quickly. If I have a 3% and they're offering 2, where does this all go? I think, I'm going to be bold with this, that doesn't really matter. Because I think we're going to get to the point where we establish our own relationship. We're going to talk to our buyers and say, hey, this is the fee I charge. This is the outcome I get. We might force us to look at, what do we produce? And maybe the production right now is, hey, my last 11 buyers, they were able to get under contract with an average of 17 days and close within 65 days of our first appointment. So if you're serious about buying, this is one of the things that I pride myself on is, educating the buyers on where the market is, educating the buyers on where the market's going, and giving them the strategy and technology to get the outcome that they want.
I actually see this as a positive. I see this, I'm interpreting the new law, the new rules, as if the state backing up our value as real estate agents. This is a great thing.
I don't think they know that they're doing that, Netta,
that's-
but I think that they are doing it.
Yeah, they are.
And, if a customer senses fear when you're talking to them, they sense confusion, if they sense uncertainty, are they going to work with us? Think about that. And if they sense pompous arrogance and ignorance, are they going to work with us? No. There's a difference. So you need to be able to connect with your tribe, the people that are going to work with you, be able to have these conversations with them. And in terms of, everybody has different opinions on money, okay? And some of us self-sabotage our careers and our income. Does anybody believe that, or you think I'm gone off the deep end? I see that. Yeah, I see a few hands. What I mean by that is everybody's buying patterns are different. Okay, now if you were going to buy an automobile and you're going to do all the research, you were going to shop for the absolute lowest price, you might subliminally undermine yourself, even though you deliver great service, and think that price is the most important thing to the person sitting before you. And in most cases, you'll be wrong. Okay. I think one of the biggest challenges that our industry has is that we're detached from our consumer, and that we assume that the outlier, the person that's looking for the good deal, who you probably don't want to work with. And I can prove this as well. Has anybody ever, relaxed your normal fee to work with a client and found out that they were the biggest pain in the ass and you resented it? Raise your hand if you've ever done that. You've taken it at a higher price than it was worth. You've given them a lower fee, and they were the biggest challenge that you ever had. That's not really great business, okay? Because the most difficult person is getting the best deal. And we only do that out of fear of loss, not out of abundance. So we need to be able to have the conversations. We, as an industry, if you were to look at everybody in the industry, what they get paid per hour, what the real estate profession earns compared to other professions overall, we are not overpaid. We have I think this is a Brian Buffini-ism, or it might be a Mike Ferry, one of these prolific speakers. They have something like this: I'm going to put an ad in the newspaper or online or at a job fair at a college, say, we have this great job. You have to pay insurance, licensing, all these fees just to get started. You're going to work with clients. Many of them you'll work with for months. And if the transaction falls apart the day before closing, you get paid zero. Who wants to sign up for that? Yet we're all here. We don't second guess what we do. We have the skills and the confidence to get it done, but we're worth more than we're paid in reality. Okay. With the advent of technology and information, it's only made the process more confusing. It hasn't made it easy. It's not the same thing as, booking travel, right? The travel agent had a problem when the internet opened up all the opportunities where I could say, I don't need a travel agent to pick my flight. But buying a house is not booking a flight. Okay. Selling a house is not booking a hotel. It's a lot more in depth. Dave talked about, the Great Recession of 2001 when all the dot-coms went under, and 9/11 and the real estate market was under a lot of pressure. That almost put RE/MAX out of business, but at the same time, it made us stronger. And he said the great financial crisis, Dave credits his ownership team for saying that we need to get into serving distressed homeowners, and created the CDP, Certified Distressed Property Expert, in order to provide value to our team members, who then can have that confidence to show homeowners that were underwater how to move the market. Okay, these are all things that seem bad at the time, but are ultimately good. Okay. Just look at my notes here, see if there's anything I am missing.
I think everyone should get their APR certification designation.
I couldn't agree with you more.
It's an excellent course, and it teaches you so much and makes it clear to you your value. I really enjoyed taking it.
Oh, yeah, so here, anybody ever hear of this person called Elon Musk? Anybody ever hear of that name?
No,
Nobody's heard of Elon Musk or Tesla?
Of
no.
course.
Of course,
It's all about
everybody.
Absolutely.
So even a company like Elon Musk, and I don't know if it was in one of his books or his biography, but there was a time where Tesla was going to be toast. Okay, when he started out, and if I recall, his financing fell apart right before Christmas, and he had to put together a package, or the company would have been liquidated before the end of the year. And he closed that transaction on New Year's Eve, okay, to make payroll, pay vendors, basically stay in business. What's happening to us is not anywhere near that severe. And look at how it's worked out for Elon. And many people would have given up. That would have been the end of it. But I mean, I don't know the numbers. My guess is that Tesla is probably worth more than the next three largest automotive groups combined. Okay, so adversity is our friend. Experience is our ticket to residual revenue. Experience is our ticket to completed transactions. It's not about the money. It's not about, I'm going to repeat this because I think this is probably even worth writing down. It's not what you say. It's not what you do. It's not what you pay. It's not what you charge. It's how you make them feel. It's not what you do. It's not what you say. It's not what you charge. It's not what they pay. It's how you make them feel that matters. Right? A year from now, nobody remembers what the percentage is. If you say that, if I say to you, hey, Mr. Piccolo, you know, there's been some changes in our industry. Everybody's now required to select who they want to work with. And the regulations require that we put everything in writing. And I'm a big fan of it because I love transparency. I want you to know exactly what our relationship's going to look like. I can feel 1,000% confident in that conversation. And if somebody said, hey, but I never met you, I don't know what, you know, what you want me to sign an agreement. You know, Ron, if it doesn't work out, you know, I have a guarantee you can give me notice and in 72 hours, you're free to pick somebody else. How does that sound? Pretty good, right? And, you know, if you're not, yeah, some of the buyer agency agreements are more restrictive. You know, some of them give us a lot of flexibility in how we define our relationship. But I personally wouldn't want to work with somebody who doesn't want to work with me, and I'd want to have the ability to say, hey, you know, Ron, maybe we're not a good fit, right? And maybe, you know, I showed you these 7 houses. If you buy any of them, you know, I just want to let you know, inform your other agent that you'd owe me a fee on these. And if not, I wish you all the best. Right? I mean, if you have a disgruntled listing and they want to make a change for a valid reason, maybe their expectations are not realistic, you force them to stay in that relationship. I've had at least half a dozen times that I tell our agent, hey, you know, I'm here to support you. You want us to try to hold the line? We will. But then they get a bad review or something negative comes about trying to force the issue. You know, that's a business decision that we all make. But if we focus on how we make people feel and not how much they pay or how much we charge, it really does change the game. And looking at the experience and skills that we have on this Zoom call, you know, we should be charging, you know, we should be charging what we're worth, which is going to be higher than our competition. We should not be ashamed to have those conversations, and we should not be, you know, if we have 20 conversations and everybody signs up with us, you know, that's probably not a good thing. Right? If we have 20 conversations, everybody signs up, that probably means that we're too accommodating and too flexible. You know, there should probably be somebody that objects to the price every now and then, and we're willing to walk away from it. Okay? If you have 20 conversations, only 2 people sign up, that's a different problem. Means that we probably need to go back to either our value proposition or more likely our communication of that value proposition. Right? Does anybody have a parallel outside of real estate where it's how they made you feel, not the dollars that is obvious, that can be related back to what we're talking about here? How about anybody ever go to a doctor that doesn't accept, like it says, I'm not going to accept your insurance. If they pay me, it'll be a credit, but I'm not going to accept the insurance. Anybody ever have that experience? I did. And, you know, if the insurance doesn't pay, you pay the difference. Like, I'm like, the best doctor, you know, I'm going to take my child there and I don't care. That was an experience for me where I'm like, you know, the doctor saying that, hey, if your insurance company decides to nitpick me and not pay what my fee is, you're going to be responsible for the difference. I actually had some respect for that because there was somebody negotiating that who the doctor never met, right? And saying that you only get paid, you know, X number of dollars for this part of the procedure. Anyway, to me, that was a relatable parallel that I think we could all learn from, you know. And if you go to your doctor or your lawyer and they say my fee is $600 an hour and I have this track record, and you say, well, can you do it for $450? what do you think a reputable lawyer is gonna say?
No,
Are you kidding me? Right? And they'll probably even make you feel embarrassed, right? For asking. Yet sometimes we feel dis-ease, we feel uncomfortable, talking about money. Right? And then the last piece where I'm kind of future casting here is we're all focused on, hey, we're offering a concession at 2%, 2.5%. Some of these ridiculous MLSs say, will the seller consider a concession? Which is absolutely ridiculous. Because if I pay the right price, the seller will consider a concession. Okay, if Tyler comes in with an offer with his client of 500 and I come in with an offer of 600 and I say, I want you to pay 2% towards my commission or 3% towards my fee, Tyler's going to look at that and say to his client, hey, this is a much better deal. We're going to take that. And I think, we're going to have to deal with the fact that somebody who's got a discount brokerage that might be doing it for 1%, which they're gonna be out there. They say, hey, I'll only charge 1%, and that offers up against your offer where you're charging 3%. All right, well, guess what? You need to know how to build relationships and get your offer accepted. And if somebody's charging a 1% fee or a $500 fee to write the offer, I can only imagine how poor that offer is going to be written and how little effort is going to be made to get that done.
But
And
also a 1% agent, you can't compare a 1% agent to a 3% agent. It's incomparable. It's apples and oranges, what you get.
Well, can I say that there will be some agents that charge 3% and deliver 0.5% service, right?
Yes, correct. It's unfortunate.
So cost is not the definition of value. In other words, we have transactions in the past where we put out, 3% to buyers agents, right? And we still get a shitty offer package, right? The numbers don't add up. They emailed it. They never called us. They made very little skillful effort or no skillful effort. I'm just going to ask if you can just randomly either put in the chat box or just unmute yourself. If you have a property that gets 10 offers on it, how many times are you receiving a call from the buyer's agent to build rapport and advocate for their offer out of 10?
Not many, which is unfortunate. And that does affect.
So is it, Netta, would you say it's 3 or 6?
I would, no, absolutely say less than 50%. Yeah.
So Rick Bryan is saying 1 to 2 out of 10. That's 10 to 20%. And tell me what
that number.
So Rob Dursley, you're a listing man. You say less than 20% of the people are calling you to advocate. Beth agrees.
That's correct.
That is pathetic.
We went from the extreme when you got a love letter and family photos with every offer to now where if we're lucky, you even hear from the agent except to say, did you receive my offer? And it's usually a text or an email. Confirm you got it.
Right. I want to share an experience that the New Jersey and Florida family probably remembers, but maybe it's not top of mind. And this is something I think our Arizona team should really take heart in listening to. We have an employee here over in Jersey who was buying his first house. I had said I would help him with applying the commission towards the closing costs as a favor because he's doing a great job here. Had a junior agent submit 5 or 6 offers, paid him hourly. None of them got accepted. He was like, I'm going to renew my lease. There's no way I'm going to get a house. It was during the 2022, one of the hottest markets ever, and he was going FHA with 3.5% down. So I said, before you give up and renew the lease, find the property. When you find it, I'll personally handle it. Okay, and I'm going to reenact the phone call. Ring, ring. Vaughn here. Hey, Vaughn, I just want to thank you. For what? For answering the phone. That was the beginning of the call. And that was genuine for me because at that time, so many agents didn't answer the phone call. So I legitimately had an appreciation. And the call went on to say, hey, I'm going to be submitting an offer. It's actually for somebody that works here. I just want to, may not be the highest priced offer, but I can tell you if we do put this together, I will always answer my phone. I will be responsive. We're not playing games with any inspection items. And if you accept the offer, it will close on the day and time that we agree upon. Okay. And our buyer was willing to pay $35,000 more. We didn't have to up the offer. And we closed at the original offer in one of the most competitive markets I've seen. So I believe that if that would have just been emailed over, our employee would be a renter still. Okay, and think about, just think about that for just a second, and maybe we can even find a way without being derogatory to the industry to share how the industry really works. Most agents, are just looking to, get the offer, email it out, and hope and pray that it works instead of, build a relationship, advocate for your ability to close, right, and have those conversations. Glenn Baker does a great thing where he does a video email. Hey, Andrew Velez, this is Rob Lazar. I have this client. They have no contingencies. If you accept the offer, we'll be able to close on the date and time. And I just want to let you know something to that effect, right? The listing agent is probably just forwarding that email over. And what Glenn found out was that the sellers were watching the email more than the listing agent. Listing agent might not open it up, but BombBomb will show you who's watching the email. So there's a way to communicate with the homeowner just because the listing agent is not downloading the contract, sending it separately in most cases. So it's all about the experience. It's about what you do. This is something that has occurred for probably the wrong reason. All this change. But just think, what if two things are true at the same time? The motivation for the change is horrific. It's a money grab. I don't agree with it. But the change winds up being ultimately good. Those two things can be true at the same time. Okay, and this could be an opportunity for separation, to separate ourselves from the rest of the industry when a lot of the industry is extremely confused, right? A lot of the industry is in turmoil. So I don't know, does anybody have any thoughts, questions?
One thing that I want to bring up from the Arizona side of things that we've seen is a lot of the agents in our market are, I don't want to use the word terrified, but I think it's probably one of the best words to use. And it's because they don't have access to the information that RE/MAX and other brokerages like RE/MAX have. And I think this whole conversation has hit the nail on the head. It's our relationships that are going to continue building our business and moving it forward. And what I have found works incredibly well is something that I learned watching my dad run a dental office in Key West, Florida for 48 years. And it was to throw curveballs that nobody expects. And one of those is make everybody in the transaction comfortable and relaxed. Because when it hits the fan at the end of the day, if you have a great relationship with the agent on the other side, and they were relaxed, we're able to, call each other, go, okay, we have a speed bump, let's get over it together. It's just the way that works extremely well. And it's all about the demeanor that we bring into it. I always like to bring it back to my dad, who was the barefoot dentist of the Florida Keys. You couldn't work for him if you wore shoes in the office. And it's, you know, walking into a dental office, you expect this clean, sanitary environment, and everybody is shoeless there. It was an incredible thing to just see how people who hate the dentist get so relaxed just because of his demeanor and his confidence walking into it. It's something that I attack every single day with my real estate business. It really ends up working out well. But again, you're building those relationships with that other side. We're relaxed, we're together, we're a team, no matter what brokerage we're behind.
So, Wilson, thank you for sharing that. And
100%, 100%.
I want to share something that I learned from being a student of Tony Robbins, and I think it's a really relevant time. If you have people need both certainty and uncertainty in life. Okay, because if life was all certainty, we would be completely bored, right? And life would probably not be worth living. And if you had all uncertainty, you might lose your mind. So you need a little bit of both, right? You need some certainty and you need some uncertainty in life to have that balance. And I know it sounds like a contradiction, but if you've ever been to Tony Robbins, he talks about that in depth a lot, right? If you had all certainty, you'd be bored. Now, what I think a lot of our industry is struggling with is that there's no certainty now in where the path forward is. There's a lot of dots, right? Well, we're not sure how this is going to work. And if you look for problems, what do you find? Problems. If you look for issues, you find issues. I'm going to tell you that there's going to be uncertainty in our business for a little while. We need to embrace that. We need to be the rock for our clients so that they don't have debilitating anxiety and uncertainty. And, you know, we use that to our advantage because we're all here on a Friday trying to collaborate on how to get through this, serving the clients the best and earning what we're worth. Okay. So people who are confused, people who, and there are some people who are, let's face it, there's some people in our industry that are all about drama, right? They take anything that's wrong and they want to tell 100 people. Did you ever see those people? Right? Oh my God, this is happening. You know, we don't know exactly how this is going to happen. The world, the sky is going to fall, the industry is going to end. And Beth says they're all over Facebook. Yes. But people aren't going to hire you if you buy into that at all. Okay, they want us to show them the path forward, even if it's not 1,000% certain. Okay, and this is really our opportunity to shine. If you're not confident that, yes.
What I'm finding is that buyers are a little bit confused about this law and they're very nervous and they're actually going to their trusted real estate agent and asking about what's going to happen now. So I think our job is to calm them and have them sign, and that's it.
Right. Now, if you were in the market back in the 2009 time, does anybody remember the cash for clunkers that the administration did? They $4,000 for any vehicle just to get them off the road, and then they did a was it a $15,000 tax credit if you're a first-time home buyer, hadn't bought a home in 3 years. Remember that? Anybody? Just me? Okay, I see a few people that remember that. What that did is that moved the demand for buyers, right? People that were looking to buying in a year probably moved their plans up a little bit. And then when that program ended, you know, we had a little bit of a hangover from the free money, right? Now, you know, one person running for high office is saying that they're going to provide a $25,000 credit to home buyers. And I want everybody to think about, how are you going to address that if buyers bring that up? You know, is the market going to stall until after the election? And then after the election, if there's that particular party wins and they see if it actually does get through or not, or is the market still going to move? And those are things that we're going to have to talk about. There's also going to be beliefs that prices are going to fall, right? Because I think the media is now saying that home prices are going to fall. Anybody ever see that on the media? Okay, they say interest rates are going to fall. So if you're a home buyer, what might you have a bias to do? Anybody? So probably wait, right? Wait, yep. So Tricia and you know, and some others are saying that you might want to wait. Is that the best thing to do? You know, from a selfish standpoint, it's definitely not a good thing to do. And for a lot of consumers, it's probably not the right thing to do. But we need to be able to figure out, how are we going to answer those objections, those conversations that people are having. Because if there's a, you know, I want to get elected, I'm going to promise, you know, lower groceries, lower interest rates, and I'm going to give you money when you buy a house. People might say, "Oh, I'm going to wait." We need to have our conversation. We need to have our dialogue, right? And you know, I feel comfortable on how I would address it. They should not wait because they're losing money. I already see some great ideas in the comments. We need to have our conversation that we can have with people about that whole process. Because if there is free money to buy houses, you know, and you know, one administration believes that's going to help solve the housing crisis or the housing shortage, what it's really going to do is it's going to put more pressure on buyers and push the prices up higher, right? So if there's lower interest rates and there's a down payment concession or tax credit, you're probably gonna have to pay a lot more than $25,000 more to buy that house. And you will certainly have more competition, right? So you might not be able to buy the house that you want that might be available now. So it's basically going to the casino and seeing, you know, will your bet win or not? And I think, you know, if you have these conversations, you know exactly how you're going to discuss it. You'll identify the people that are motivated to take action in this environment we have now. And any questions anybody has? I hope I provoke some thought. And,
I'd
yeah.
like to add something. Everything that you said hits the nail right on the head. I think we have to think more in terms of, instead of being a salesperson, being a communicator. I think it all boils down to communicating to the sellers, to the buyers, to our fellow realtors. It's all how we handle the conversations and the effort we put forward with it.
And it's really always been that too, right? Colleen, you've been doing this a long time, so have I. You know, communication is probably one of the most important things in having the successful outcome. What I didn't share about the story about our employee here that bought a house was the sellers of that house were fix and flip, and they put a new driveway down, and guess what was under the driveway? Those of you from New Jersey, an oil tank.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Jimmy Hoffa? No, good guess. It was an oil tank. He might have been in that tank, but So there's an underground oil tank, and this was how that whole process went about, right? Our employee called me up on the Saturday when they had the inspection and said, "Oh, there's an underground oil tank. I knew this was too good to be true. It's probably gonna, the deal's probably gonna die. You know, I gave my landlord notice. It's probably not gonna close." Like all these negative thoughts. I'm like, you know, tap those thoughts down, right? I called up the listing agent and said, "Hey, Vaughn, it's Rob. Hey, how you doing? Just want to let you know that they just finished the home inspection and there's a tank under the driveway that you just paved." He's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "I got to take care of that anyway. Let me get right on it, right?" So by the time the attorney got the inspection report on Tuesday and sent the letter out to the other side, the oil tank was already removed. That's what expert communication really can do when people are working together, right? I mean, you know, each state has different protocols for how you resolve inspection items and whatnot. But, you know, in our state, in New Jersey, where, you know, you have to rely upon attorneys to send letters back and forth, it was really refreshing to see that the problem was resolved when the attorney for the seller went to his client. The client said it's already been removed and signed off on by the township. That was awesome.
How
And,
did they find an underground oil tank under a driveway that's been recently repaved during an inspection?
metal, they do a tank sweep and they search for metal underground.
So they're using ground penetrating radar,
Yes.
Yep.
and this is common practice.
Unfortunately, yes, it is. We have a lot of older homes and they decommission oil tanks, and the practice used to be when you decommission the oil tank, Jeff, that you wouldn't pull it out. You would just cut it open. You'd have the township official say there's no contamination. Then you'd fill it with rocks or sand, and you would leave it there. So you don't even know if it was decommissioned properly, but no qualified attorney is going to allow it to stay there, knowing that there might be contamination. So anyway, believe it or not, that's the way it happens. But the reality is, you take any challenge that you have, if you have good communication skills, you can navigate through that process and give your client peace of mind. If you're one of these drama agents, "Oh my God, we have an underground oil tank, you know, we might not be able to close on time," right? The client's gonna be losing their mind, right? And then at the end of the day, they say, "Oh yeah, we closed, but it was such a horrible process. I didn't know if I was gonna be moving. I already gave my," you can see it going both ways, can't you? So I humbly submit that, you know, our job is now much greater than local real estate knowledge, much greater than negotiation skills. It's definitely a communication skill level up time for all of us. It's a mindset, right? We need to have the right mindset moving into this. And both things can be true. We can be angry about, you know, how this all came about. We can think the system was rigged. We can think it was a money grab, but it can also be true that the outcome is positive. The outcome is positive. You know, that seller and listing agent's not going to determine what I, as a buyer's agent, get paid any longer. So I have one request for everybody, because I don't know if it's the time slot is challenging for people, but if, you know, if everybody can reach out to one of your colleagues and encourage them to attend here, I think that we're going to have more contribution and it will be more valuable for all of us, because this is a way that Arizona, New Jersey, Florida, everybody gets to connect and we get to share ideas. And as the Arizona team, Tyler, get to be a little bit less shy, you know, there's some things that are done in Arizona that aren't the norm in Florida or New Jersey that I think we can learn from. And I know when I was out there looking at the process with you and Gary, some of those things really make a lot of sense, but we just don't do it like that. So please, you know, encourage your peers to join. And I look forward to seeing you all next Friday at 11 or at 8 o'clock on Arizona time. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Rob. It was great.
Bye-bye.
See you, Rob.
Thanks,
you.
Rob.
Bye.
Happy birthday for Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.